Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today we're going to talk about some epidendrums. And I just want to show you my epidendrum collection. These are orchids that I don't talk about all that much, but I recently started to collect quite a few. These types of orchids are very similar care-wise to the Cattleya orchids. There are also quite a few hybrids between the epidendrums and Cattleyas, so theoretically they should be okay in my climate. Therefore, why not give it a go with a few of them? Now, I'm not sure how many of them I actually filmed, so we're just gonna go through them today and show you the different types of epidendrums that I own, because there are quite a few types of epidendrum orchids available on the market. So let's just start with the oldest epidendrums that I have. I have two, and to be honest, I'm not entirely sure which one is older. So let's just start with the reed stem one. This is Epidendrum Crystal Valley CT Red Star. I will post some images on one side of the screen so you can see how the flower looks like, because it did bloom for me. However, the history with this little guy is really not that great. So he's one of my oldest epidendrums, but do you see how tiny he is? This is because it's not the original plant, it's a keiki. When we moved here, he absolutely hated the move, hated not being potted, not being hydrated enough. And when I finally potted him, what happened was that the initial plant, the mother plant, simply did not want to produce roots. She was growing a keiki, she was feeding all of her energy into this keiki. The keiki was further up the plant, he was producing roots, but obviously way above the medium, so I took the decision to save him, and that's what she did. She never regained her powers, but the little keiki that survived is this one, and at some point he was so incredibly tiny, I am really surprised he made it. So this year he created a new growth of his own. It's not a keiki, it's yet another shoot. This is a sympodial orchid, so it produces multiple canes, multiple pseudobulbs, and this one, as you can see, it is much taller and still growing. Now this epidendrum is not tall. The reed stems can get super tall, but this guy is a sort of a miniature. He can grow up to 30-40 centimeters maybe, but usually not more than that. And it makes him perfect for small spaces because epidendrums really don't have the tendency to bush out. If you manage to tidy up the canes, they should stay pretty compact. And this guy is just perfect for small spaces. So fingers crossed that the following growth will bloom. I'm not sure, it depends how much this one grows as well. If it grows tall enough, it might bloom and I would be happy. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe not this year, but next year, with a bit of luck, we're gonna have some flowers from this guy as well. I'm just happy he's alive. Next up, we have the Epidendrum Stamfordianum Galaxy. This is a species, but it's a sort of sub-variety of that species. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is, to be honest, but this was the only variety available when I purchased it. So yet again, I have this guy for quite a while now. He was kind of tiny when I purchased it, and he grew more and more. Of course, last year he took a break, or actually not took a break, but he created a pretty tiny pseudobulb. You can see it right there. We started out with these pseudobulbs, which are pretty tiny, so it is an accomplishment. But yeah, last year was not the greatest year this guy has seen. And this here, look at this, very big growth. Problem is he grew a little bit to the side of my shelf, and this leaf kind of curved in this direction. It doesn't sit nice, but that's okay. I'm not gonna try to train it right now because the leaves are rigid. If you try to bend them, they will probably snap. I think I see a point, a weakness point here. So I'm not gonna try to train him. This is how he grew, that's that. We're gonna try better next year. But the pseudobulb is really plump, it looks really nice in comparison to the other ones. Now this type of epidendrum doesn't create flower spikes from the top of the cane, like in the case of the reed stem that I just showed you. No, this guy actually creates flower spikes from the base of these pseudobulbs. Pretty much like, maybe like Lycaste. Flower-wise, yes, they are very different, but they do still have similarities. When you see the flowers, both of the reed stems and of these guys, you can tell they're related, but they are indeed different. Care-wise, not so different, I have to say. They both enjoy very bright light. They don't like to be very dry for very long. This guy a little bit more than the reed stems. This guy really asks for water on a regular basis and is very upset with me when I don't water him. And I know this sounds strange, but what I'm referring to is the pseudobulbs. The pseudobulbs get shriveled pretty fast on this guy if I don't keep up with watering. Alright, Alrighty, so those were my two oldest epidendrums, and everything from now on is going to be purchased or received this year actually. So let's start with this guy, which I did not repot yet. I told you that I do have issues right now with white pots. I cannot find any more small white pots. I purchased everything in my town, so yeah, probably I'll go with other colors because I really need to repot this guy before winter starts. So what is this? This is an Epidendrum Milano porphyreum. It is a species epidendrum, and if I'm not mistaken, it is a tiny one. It's a miniature one. And as you can see, mine already had a flower spike, so it is indeed blooming size. This guy I received recently from my viewer Jessica, yet again. It was in one of the packages. Thank you so much, honey. I love my epidendrums. I do kind of prefer the Stamfordianum types and this type rather than the reed stems, simply because the reed stems tend to get quite large, so I cannot have multiple reed stems at the same time. And so these little guys are just what the doctor ordered for my shelves. Now, I love all of them, don't get me wrong, but yeah, simply because these guys take less space, I kind of like these guys better. Now, I'm not sure what to tell you about care when it comes to this guy, so I think I'd better share with you the link towards orchid species down below so you can see where he comes from, and maybe some cultural notes if you like the picture with this guy. It's just very, very recent in my collection. I do give it bright light, and what you see here, the coloration, the purple color, is normal for this species, so at least that. Other than that, I try to maintain him watered but not soggy wet. But really, I'm kind of winging it. That's what I do with orchids that are new or that I don't have enough experience with yet. I'm just winging it and reading the orchid, letting it tell me what it needs. And so far, so good with this one. He is not dehydrated, he still grows, looks nice, so everything should be okay. Alrighty, next up, an epidendrum that I purchased from eBay from a new seller called Olivier in France, and the order arrived super fast. I was really pleased. This is the Epidendrum Orange Blaze. This is a beautiful orangey yellow colored epidendrum that I really like. It is a recent purchase, so I don't have flowers yet, and I'm not entirely sure if this is a reed stem or not. I believe it is a cross. If I remember correctly, it is a cross with a reed stem, but also with something else. And you can see by the picture, by the looks of it, doesn't really look like the reed stems. So what I mean by this is that the reed stem epidendrums have upside down flowers and these guys don't. Now, of course, I purchased this epidendrum for the color. It does look like a blazing ray of sunshine, doesn't it? So I hope he's gonna do okay. So far, he's okay. He's growing something here, which is a new growth. And sadly, it's a little bit too high. And I'm not entirely sure if he created any roots here. Slightly wobbly. He's not dehydrated, so he might have roots inside. But yeah, I would prefer this guy to be lower. And sorry I'm out of breath, but I needed to move my car and I just ran up the stairs. So I might intervene with this guy and move it a little bit lower. Not entirely sure just yet. He doesn't look dehydrated, so that's good. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about him yet. Next up, we have a reed stem epidendrum that I purchased this year as well. And this is, I feel, a very popular orchid, at least here in Europe. This is Epidendrum Sister My Love, which is a really nice baby pink epidendrum. As you can see, these types of epidendrums produce a flower spike from the top and a cluster of flowers, which looks a little bit 3D. It's quite tight in that cluster, unlike other epidendrums such as the Stamfordianum, which tend to have a more pendant type of spike. So I purchased this guy from Orchid Garden in Poland. It was a really good deal. These types of orchids, the reed stems, are really cheap. I think because they propagate so easily, they readily create new growths and keikis, so you can just pull one out, put it in the medium, and it's okay, it's good to go. It's pretty much that easy to propagate them as far as I understand. So around these parts at least, they are very cheap. It was less than 10 euros to be honest. So of course I had to purchase it. This orchid has two shoots, this one, which sprouts from the older one, and the one on top, both of them growing at the same time. They're not mature just yet, so I suspect this was a keiki or an offshoot just plucked from a mother plant, which was bigger, put in medium, and there we go, presto, we have another plant. It's that easy apparently. And both of these guys are growing at the same time. They were not set back, they didn't experience any issues with me purchasing them. I suspect this is a brand new shoot. Even if it's bigger, I cannot call it the mother plant. I think it's just another shoot which had another shoot. Very Inception-ish, right? So the orchid is doing just fine. She's anchored. These types of orchids produce pretty thick roots, as you can see. And yeah, she looks absolutely spectacular. So I do suspect that the reed stems are actually the easier types of epidendrums. So maybe if you're interested in these orchids, but you're a beginner, start with the reed stems. And down below in the description, I'll probably add some more links or a more elaborate explanation for what this name suggests, what it means, and which orchids, which of the epidendrums are the reed stems. And lastly, we have yet another reed stem epidendrum, but this is a species. The actual species name is Radicans, and this is the variety Vigor. Color-wise, it is the orange variety, but Radicans can be purple, reddish, yellow. It can be quite a few colors. I, of course, love orange, so I got myself the orange one. And just look at this big baby. He has quite a few shoots actively growing at the moment. This one bloomed. This is an older spike. So you can see the spike just arises from the top of one of the canes, the mature canes, and produces a cluster of very tight flowers at the top. This orchid yet again was purchased from Orchid Garden in Poland. Yet again, it was super cheap for what it is. This is a big plant. I have this cane, this cane, this cane actively growing a keiki up here that I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna divide or actually separate. This is an older growth, so yeah, this guy is growing like mental. It grew a lot ever since I purchased it. If I remember correctly, this guy was just a little nub in here, and now look at him. He's really growing strong. He likes semi-hydroponics, likes bright locations, is not fussy about fertilization and all of those things. I have only good words about these orchids, so definitely I would recommend them. However, as you can see, they can be little monsters. And I'll share with you down below a video from Maria Young here on YouTube. She had at some point some really gorgeous epidendrums, but she grew them in the garden and it was like a bush or a hedge already. They can get large. That's why in cultivation you will find some hybrids that are not as tall, they're more compact, like the first one that I showed you, which are more suited, let's say, for small growing spaces, home conditions, apartment conditions, and so on. These guys are monsters, but I guess having a few is well worth it because the flowers are just breathtaking. I didn't mention anything about fragrance. The reed stems, as far as I know, they're not fragrant, but the Stamfordianum Galaxy is. I'm not entirely sure about the other ones, but pretty much whatever is a reed stem should not have any fragrance, but fragrant epidendrums, they exist. So this is my epidendrum collection. I of course have some hybrids with cattleyas, but I didn't want to include them because there are so many hybrids with the cattleyas, and I do have a lot of them in my collection as well. It would take forever and the video would be way too long. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have some epidendrum recommendations for me, just leave me down below. I'm always on the lookout for really pretty epidendrums, not necessarily reed stems, I have to say, simply because they're big. But other types, you know, I'm up for ideas. One thing, there is a sort of epidendrum which has a really frilly type of lip. I'm not entirely sure how it's called. I'll try to put a name and a picture on the screen so you can see. Oh my goodness, I've never seen that one for sale anywhere, but yeah, in my eyes, that one looks spectacular. Quite different than what we're used to. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed this video, you know the drill. Give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchids and plants videos. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!